Right then, it is Monday, it is 7 o'clock. My name is Matt Steele, and this is Drift Crash. I am going to talk about my drift car that is no longer a drift car and is now some sort of fancy racy show car thing. It's my GT86. So, my GT86, how did I end up with one of them? I basically got the chance to drive one and went, this is real fun, I gotta get one. I ended up buying a Blitz body kit, slapping that on the car. I got some bigger wheels, I got some spacers, had flat shift, a funky exhaust with a Subaru sounding manifold, which always sounded awful because I can't stand the sound of Subarus, but that's another story. And yeah, this all carried on. I was just having fun with like a nice street car. I had no intentions to make a drift car or anything of that nature. And what happened next was a bit minging. What that was is that a family of little hairy gits decided to move into the airbox of the car. And when I tried to start the car, obviously it sucked all that stuff in and basically killed the engine. You know, there was bits of air filter everywhere, there was bits of twigs and stones, and it was a right old mess. However, Simon from Carson Performance had come and help me diagnose this on the recommendation of a friend, and this is how I met Simon. So when we figured out that it was because there were rats in the airbox, I cringe every time I say that, we then took the car to Carson Performance to strip the engine down and basically see what the damage was, at which point we discovered it had scored the boards. You know, rat urine is quite corrosive, and there were a few issues from that. Besides the fact, like, you know, it was just kind of gross. I've never sprayed so much bleach and disinfectant and done so much jet washing of an engine and an engine bay ever before, and I doubt we'll do that ever again. There were a couple of engine options that we could have gone for at the time. One was I was offered a turboed FA20. Randomly out of the blue, I was offered an engine. So basically the story goes is I bought a car from Masashi Yokoi from Mind Control Racing, D1 driver, when I was living in Japan. I then shipped that car back to the UK and I had the engine rebuilt because it was knackered. So that engine was rebuilt, went back into that car, and then I drove that car for a year doing competition. I then ran out of money and had to kind of bail out on drifting for the major part and try and, I don't know, be normal, I suppose, for a while. Anyway, I sold the engine to a friend who then put it in his garage and just left it there for like 8 years or something, 8-9 years, something crazy like that. I think he'd seen that the engine was blown on Facebook or something, and just said, do you want to buy this back for it? And I sort of thought about it and had a chat with Simon, and we decided it was a brilliant idea that we should put an SR20 in a GT86. It was a shit idea to put an SR20. So myself and Simon set about making engine mounts and sort of stuffing the thing in there to see if it'd even work, which it will. And oddly enough, the gearbox lines up almost perfectly with where the sort of stock GT shifter comes out. You know, we were kind of along the thinkings of it was going to be relatively simple to do. My overthinking brain got involved. I was getting annoyed with how much wiring was in the car, and then I also saw another car called the TRD Griffin, which is completely bonkers. Toyota made like an NA race car, and I was like, well, okay, well, maybe that's the sort of direction I want to go, where it's like super lightweight and wide and low and just fast, just a fast car. All of the underside of the car is effectively brand new. It's mostly new arms that have been powder coated so they match each other. Couldn't really get under the car because it's just on the floor at the moment, so I'll drop some pictures in. So as you can see, the underside of the car is pretty much immaculate. We've ground out any rust or any sort of spots that look like they're going to have rust. Any seams that were a bit sort of funny looking, all been cleaned up, all been rust treated, all been red oxide primed, and then the whole car's been under sealed to protect it. So effectively it's near as damn it a brand new car underneath now. Got some bracing in there. All the powder coating was done by Cage Laser, who also made the roll cage in the car. The roll cage is an absolute work of art. I am over the moon with it, and we'll have a nose around that in a second. Now, going to the outside of the car, as I said, it's got a Blitz kit on it. So I've fitted the Blitz kit. I've got I think it's a Sabon bonnet that I've painted because it was like carbon, and I'm not that into carbon. And then it's got a Sado Works rear wing on it. Sebastian basically saw what I was doing with the car, really liked it, and said, "Hey, I think my wing would look great on your car." So he sent me one, which was freaking awesome of him. So I definitely think you should go to his website and buy a wing if you've got a GT86. And then what else have I done? It has work wheels. It has gigantic TRD brakes. So the brakes are the same brakes as on the TRD Griffin race car. I apologize for the rear offset on the video. It's still a work in progress. So try not to be too upset by it. Moving on to the interior, it's got a couple of Bride Funky Queen seats. They came from Jackwist Mods. They're quite rare, so all those seats are numbered. I think I have number 21 and 23. 23 obviously Michael Jordan, and 21 what don't know, it's just a good number in it. I've also made myself a custom dashboard. So there's a bit of a funny story behind that fabric, and it's actually from a shop that's basically kind of a Bosozoku Yankee Chimpira kind of style shop, which is like they've got a style which is quite expensive stuff. So it's like a t-shirt that's printed and then hand painted and then embroidered, and you can see like it's got lots of glittery things in it and just generally crazy looking, and they all have very kind of warrior-esque type slogans on them. This one was Divine Retribution. Another part of it said Dangerous Beauty. That's in a box anyway. So yeah, I was quite proud of that dash. Keys Racing wheel, and then some rather fantastic wiring. It's all mil spec, so it's on those like super fast little connectors. It's got a ECU Master Black Series ECU, and it's also got something else called a PDU or PDM in it, so Power Distribution Unit or Power Distribution Module, which basically replace your standard fuse box. So now there's none of the original wiring left. I think I removed in total something between sort of 25 and 30 kilos of wires and control units and crap from the car, and then replaced it with a Loom ECU and PDU which weigh 4 kilos. Also, all the original functions of the car work, so it will be road legal. It's got indicators, the lights work, the washer stalks work. All of that stuff is as intended from the factory, because I want a car that I can actually use and drive, and I think it's quite cool to have something that is in effect a crazy race car on the street. You will have noticed the Cage Laser roll cage in there, which is an absolute thing of beauty. I was really fussy about the door bars in the car. I drove the guys absolutely mad, but they worked with me every step of the way and kind of followed my vision, and now the cage that's in there is just, it's the perfect balance between being functional and very beautiful to look at. And I particularly love the gussets on the sills. That's like my favorite thing about that by far. And yeah, I wish I could do the cage more justice on video, because it certainly needs it. So yeah, in the engine bay you'll see that everything is currently stripped. The wiring is very minimal. It's got custom pipes in there that are for the radiator. It's got a Koyo radiator in there, Gradient's cooler, and like I say, previously I've made all the pipes and everything up. Maybe I can stick a picture in, but that's all kind of done. So now I just need to literally bolt it in and then finish up things like the fuel system, the fire suppression system, and I think the last thing I need to get working is the windows. But all the wiring's in there, and it will have normal electric windows that will work perfectly. and I guess the target power is still going to be 500 horsepower, so we'll see what happens there. So that's my GT86. If you want to see some of the backstory on it, you can go onto another channel called Monky London. Have a look at that. There's a few videos there. I'll put some links in the description so you can go and nosy at those if you haven't seen them. I realise it's quite a brief overview of a car that's had a huge amount of work go into it. I'd like to thank every single one of the people that's actually supported me with this project and the build. I absolutely couldn't have done it without any of them, especially Simon from Carson, because he's actually made the space available to do a lot of this work and given up a hell of a lot of workshop hours to help me get it done. So thank you very much, buddy. I do really appreciate that. So like I always say, you can, share and like and I don't know, subscribe and all that stuff. What I really want is comments. Talk to me about the car, ask me questions about it if you want, or just tell me it's a stupid idea and I should have, I don't know, bought a mini Metro or something. I don't know, something like that. Oh, you can also find me on Instagram, because I don't know if the two things are crossing over very well, but it's at heathen_defiance. So that yeah, it's a good name.